The morning sun was just starting to paint the field in gold when I heard it. A sound you never want to hear on your own land unless you're expecting trouble. Metal wire snapping, the unmistakable snip of cutters slicing through my fence, right outside my kitchen window. And there she was, Margaret Whitfield, president of our precious Willowbrook HOA, standing on the other side, looking for all the world like she was pruning a hedge, not trespassing on a man's ranch. Behind her was a parade of party planners unloading tables, hauling in decorations, spreading out across my pasture like it was the county fairgrounds. She turned to her assistant, and with this little smile, smug as all get out, she says, "See? I told you this would open up beautifully for the community barbecue." But what she didn't see, or maybe just refused to notice, was what lay just past that tree line. My three prize bulls, Thor, Zeus, and Odin, watching the commotion with more curiosity than I was comfortable with. Let me back up a sec. My name's Robert McKenna. I've worked this land in Cedar Grove for 30 years. My family's name is carved on the old fence post at the end of the drive. Been here since 1947, before anyone thought up gated subdivisions and HOAs. I'm a retired rodeo trainer, which means I know a thing or two about what a one-ton animal can do when it's spooked or irritated. These days it's just me, my boys, those bulls, and a few head of cattle for local shows. The fence Margaret cut wasn't just for show. It was pro-grade, warning signs every 50 feet. Private property, livestock area, danger, bulls in pasture. But Margaret, well, she had a knack for seeing only what she wanted to see, especially when it clashed with her vision of suburban perfection. See, Margaret had been HOA president for 3 years, ruling the neighborhood with the kind of iron fist you'd expect from a dictator, except hers was wrapped up in a pastel cardigan. Grass a little too high? Violation notice. Shutters the wrong color? That's a fine. But her crown jewel was always the neighborhood events. Block parties so elaborate you'd think she was running for mayor. 6 months back, she first started eyeing my field, talking about the children needing green space, sweet as syrup, clipboard in hand, pitching me on letting the HOA use my land for Easter egg hunts, outdoor movies, all that. I tried to be polite. I told her, "Ma'am, this is a working ranch. There are real bulls out there, not some petting zoo." She waved it off, said, "Oh, we'll work something out. We're all neighbors here." That was the end of my patience. I told her, flat out, nobody, and I mean nobody, crosses onto my land without asking, and especially not where the bulls are. But Margaret? She didn't do no. Over the next few months, she tried everything, sent the HOA lawyer to nitpick property lines, whipped up petitions, lobbied city council about my public nuisance, hoping to bully her way in. Each time, she hit a wall, and each time she just dug in harder. The week before this little incident, I got the HOA newsletter promising a spring spectacular block party in a venue that will take your breath away. I should have known right then something stupid was coming. So, that morning, seeing Margaret in my pasture, I felt a mix of disbelief and something a whole lot closer to rage. Party guests started flooding onto my property, setting up games, food trucks, kids tearing around right where my bulls graze. Margaret just soaked up the praise for the beautiful setting. I grabbed my phone, already dialing 911, but then I heard it. Heavy hoofbeats pounding the earth. Thor was first out of the trees, all muscle and menace, 1,500 pounds, and not 1 ounce of patience for strangers. Zeus and Odin were right behind, just as big, just as interested in the mayhem that I'd trained them well. They weren't mean, but they sure weren't pets. Still, the first person to notice them, a young mother at the face painting station, let out a scream that sliced through the party noise. Bulls. There are bulls. Everything went sideways. Parents grabbed their kids. Vendors abandoned hot dogs and lemonade. People tore through the cut fence, scattering across the field. Margaret just stood there, color draining from her face, mumbling, "This can't be happening. There were no animals here yesterday." I put 2 fingers to my lips and whistled, 3 short bursts and a long one. That's the command my boys know best. Thor's ears perked. and he stopped dead. Zeus and Odin followed suit, eyes on me, waiting. I walked through the chaos. Folks parted like I was Moses or something, and my bulls trotted over, gentle as big ol' house cats. I scratched Thor behind the ears and said, "Good boys," loud enough for everyone to hear. "These are trained performance bulls, folks." They respond to me. But they're still bulls. That's why the fence is there. Margaret, in full panic mode now, starts shrieking, "Get them away. Call animal control. These beasts are dangerous." Her yelling spooked Zeus, who pawed the ground and snorted, which only made people panic more. A food truck tried to get out and just dug itself deeper into the mud. Through all this, I stayed calm, giving hand signals, keeping the bulls in a semicircle around me. They'd done it 1,000 times at rodeos, but this was no crowd for a show. Within minutes, sirens were blaring, Cedar Grove police, animal control, and then a news van. Officer Bradley, who I'd known since he was a rookie, showed up, hand on his holster, asking, "Robert, you okay?" I said, "We're fine, Jim, but someone cut my fence and marched 50 people onto my land." The bulls were just curious. Margaret found her voice enough to accuse me. "He did this on purpose. This is assault with a deadly weapon." Even the cop looked like he was trying not to laugh. Animal Control's lead, Dr. Patricia Chun, took one look at my bulls, calm and obedient, and just shook her head. "These animals are beautifully trained," she said. "No signs of aggression. They're protecting their handler." She turned on Margaret. "Ma'am, did you cut this fence?" Margaret, still in denial, says, "I was creating community access. This land should be shared." Officer Bradley started writing citations, his face stone serious. "That's destruction of property and reckless endangerment. You brought children into a pasture with bulls. Do you realize how bad this could have gone?" More officers showed up, herding folks back off my land. My bulls, they didn't move an inch unless I told them. A few folks, once they'd calmed down, actually stopped to admire them. Go figure. Then the real details started spilling out. Margaret had promised an exclusive venue, collected fees, even used photos of my land to advertise. All without my say-so. Dr. Chun, documenting everything, said, "If anyone had been hurt, the lawsuits alone would bury your HOA." The news crew interviewed shaken parents, one dad shouting, "She said it was all approved. My kids could have been killed." By noon, the field was empty except for me, Margaret, and the cops. She sat on an overturned table, staring at the wreckage of her perfect party. Officer Bradley read off the citations: destruction of property, criminal trespassing, endangering minors. The fence alone was going to cost her $2,000. Another officer tallied up emergency response, animal control, police, the works, putting the total at somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000, and that's before I even filed civil charges. But it got worse. Margaret's phone started blowing up. News had hit the HOA's social media. 3 days later, I heard she was voted out as president, the board citing gross negligence and misuse of funds. Her real job? Event planner for a local firm. The story made the rounds, and, well, let's just say she wasn't organizing their holiday party this year. A week later, I saw her at the grocery store. She looked small, not the queen bee of Willowbrook anymore. She came up to me, her voice flat. $23,000. That's what it cost me. Legal fees, fines, fence repair, emergency response. $23,000. She didn't wait for an answer. Just left her card and walked out, probably for good. So here's what I keep asking myself. And you? Was I wrong to stand my ground? Should private land ever get sacrificed for so-called community good, even if it puts people in danger? Or was it time someone stood up to the HOA's power trip? You tell me down below, where do you draw the line between community and common sense? Let's see whose side you're really on.